Welcome to Time to Unpack. I am your host, Tiffany Singleton, also known as T.I.P or TIP. Suicide is the second leading cause among individuals ages 10 to 34 in the United States of America. This show focuses on hearing the story from a beautiful mother who lost her 9-year-old son by death to suicide. Welcome to the show, Derica.
Thank you for having me.
So we know this is such a hard and touchy subject, but a very needed discussion. So I do thank you for taking your time to come and have the discussion tonight with us.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. And so I guess we'll just start out. If you want to just give us a little background on what it was like having to experience a suicide.
It was hard. It was one of the most challenging things that I've had in my whole entire life. It changed me. It changed my prospect on how things go and, how people think, the words they say. It changed a lot. It changed a lot. I'm more serious about what I hear. My antennas go up when I hear certain things that come out of people's mouth. So most of all, I'm more discernful now with people.
What was that experience like?
Well, on May 23rd, 2018, my life changed totally. Our lives changed, me and my husband. That night, I had just put everyone to bed. We had had a good day and everything. And after all of that, my son was a prankster. His name was Joshua. So he was a prankster. He was known to hide before bed, or he was known to just get in a closet and be quiet when he don't want to do something, or just pull jokes. So, but this particular night, I had gotten up. It was about 9:00. I just put him to bed, and I got up to get my other son something to eat. And as I got up, I called his name and I asked my husband, had he heard him? Is he down there? Is he hiding or what? And so, but nobody heard from him. So I went in his room and I turned on the light. And when I turned on the light, it was a horror film. It was something as if you would have saw on TV. My son was hanging. And I couldn't say nothing. I froze. All I could do was call my husband, and I froze. I screamed. It was a scream that my neighbor said, it was a scream she never heard before. She knew something had happened. But that night was the most horrific night that I have ever had in my life. And it felt like a nightmare that I could not wake up from. But there were things that led up to that night as I sit down and I think, and as I grew and as I, continued to get strengthened and seek help. I did myself. I had to go seek help my own self for it. But by the grace of God, I've grown. But there are some things that, that led up to that moment. First of all, he was adopted. He came along with baggage. He came along with that invisible bag that no one saw. And it brought out a lot of pressure, a lot of stresses, a lot of things that silent but loud cry in the heart that many people can't see or comprehend. And so, some things that we did, we rolled down the road. He would say things like, if I open the door and I fall out, what would people think or what would happen? And my response, you get hurt. People will miss you, and kept on going, so like certain things that he would say or, do or mark out doing, just repetitively do. I wouldn't have looked at it that way until now, until now. But I just want to bring awareness to parents, to people, to be more attentive, be more discernful about the things that your children may be battling, battling on the inside, because this right here has really, really, really opened me up to, respond differently, to listen differently, to see differently and see it from a different perspective. Even the words that people say, even as I ride down the road and I see people sitting or looking a certain way, I ask God to open my eyes so I could see, to discern what that person is going through, so that I may be a place where they could vent to prevent something, or just pray for them, or anything, or advise them to seek help. And don't place a big taboo just because you go get help. I'm talking mainly about the youth, that people rule off things and say, "Oh, that person just saying that. They're not going to do it." That's the main thing. They're not going to do it. I've had psychiatrists tell me, "Oh, he's just talking. He's not going to do it." And when he did it, it was like surprise, wow. But it happens, and I thank God for the strength that he gave me, the years that I've toiled with this, on the inside. But tonight is a healing for me. It lets me know that my son didn't die in vain. And it speaks to me. I'm wearing his pearls tonight that he bought for me. And so I decided to wear them tonight, just to let him know that, okay, mommy's doing this. Just like he always told me, "Mommy, you can do it. You can do it." So I'm thinking, I can do this tonight, just to bring awareness to parents, to anybody.
So, what would you say to the parent? I know in a lot of cases, kids may say things, and I've heard or seen cases where the parent may say, "Oh, you have no reason to be sad. You have everything. Like, why are you so sad? Cheer up." And it's kind of just glazed over, just simply like that. Or a child may become depressed, and because we get so busy in life, sometimes we overlook those changes in behavior. So let's just talk about how important it is to really know your child.
Well,
and what things that you may have seen, but not really were able to hone in on, because he was a playful person. He was a prankster, but looking back on it now was probably a sign of what was brewing.
Well, I watched him things like the day I picked him up from school one day, and he looked at me and he had tears in his eyes. And I asked him, I said, "Joshua, what's wrong? You had a good day?" He said, "Yes, ma'am, mama." And I said, "You sure you had a good day? Why are you crying?" He said, "Mama," he said, "you're just so beautiful." Right then and there, if I would have taken the time and think back, he was letting me know that, "Mom, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you. I'm dealing with something, but I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to leave you. I don't want to tell you that I need to go, but I need to go." And that was the biggest thing that day that stuck with me that day. Those tears that fell down his face, I can actually see them now, those tears that he shed on that day, telling me, "Mom, you're so beautiful." Even those words, he told me that all the time, but that particular time, it seemed like it was different. And also, it been times where I've watched him, how he would stand at his window, because we had an upstairs house, and he would stand at his window, and he had put a little hole in his string, And he would take little stuff and just drop them out the window. That could have been a telltale sign right there that he was either going to throw himself out the window or something, just some things that he was doing and things that he was saying. For example, one of the ones was, if I had a gun and I did this and I shot, if I shot myself here or I shot myself there, would I die? Jokesters and pranksters, people would look over it because of what they say. But now I'm very attentive at what goes on with children now. When they say things, follow it up. Even if they have animals and they kill the animals or torture the animals, look into that also. It's different things that you can look at and you can see. Check out their writings. What are they writing on paper? What stories are they telling on paper? That's a lot of things. Even after he passed away, just looking through some of the stuff that he wrote, and I was like, wow, that was a sign there, But it opens your eyes up. Once this particular tragedy happens in a home or happens to a family, it opens you up, and you just really, you're wide open. So you're now more aware than you've ever been. And I'm aware. I'm constantly asking my boys now, because I've adopted boys. Me and my husband decided to grow our family through adoption. And they do come with baggage. I've gotten them every bit of help that they could possibly get. I felt guilty after the fact. Things happen. That's the way suicide leaves you. It leaves you with the guilt feeling. And maybe I didn't do this right, or maybe I didn't get this person or get that person, or maybe if I'd have had this amount of help, he would still be here. You put the blame game on yourself, or either if you're married, you begin to put the blame game on each other or someone in the home. So everybody's in the house. It has an impact on everyone in the house. Then if you got another child, which was during that time was his brother, you got another child that they might have said something to each other. And they're dealing with what they said to them also. So I'm having to deal with everybody's stuff, including my own at the same time. I'm having to deal with my husband's stuff, my stuff, most of all my son's stuff, my other son's stuff. And it was hard. It was hard for a minute. It took us through some changes, but we made it. I can say we made it. The strength of God caused us to make it. We made it. And, out of all of that that we went through as a family, it caused us to be strong. Even it could have banished me and say, okay, don't go through that road of adoption again. It could have changed our life just like that. We could have split up. We could not have adopted again, but we decided to adopt again. But this time it was different. It was totally different. I went through my challenges of my son now being somewhat of a replica. And I had a time with that, accepting that he was doing some of the same things that my other son did. He was a jokester. He's a jokester too. So I had to go through those challenges of not comparing both children. I had to separate the two. So, but deep down on the inside, I could just hear my little son's voice saying, Mama, you can do it. Mama, you can do it, and I've done it. That's the reason why I'm here tonight, because I know that we can do it.
So it sounds like the tough thing was that you were getting all the help. He had therapists, he had psychiatrists. Do you think it was anything? Because sometimes there's also a spiritual battle. Do you think there was anything that he was warring with spiritually?
I think so. In fact, I know so. Because there were times that, that me and my husband have sat up at night. My husband have experienced it more at night than I did, where at night he had a challenge to go to sleep. And when he went to sleep, it was like he was having a battle all to himself. It's like he had battles with different things, generational things.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Generational battles. Mm-hmm. What wasn't dealt with, he was having generational battles where, you would hear different voices, you would hear different things come out of his mouth. It was a battle, but it was, to seek help, to seek everything that we knew very well possible. Prayer. I thank God for prayer, because I don't know whether he would have made it that far, without prayer. But let me back up just a little bit. Right before he passed away, he began to, get his life together. Sort of like he began to clean his room. He cleaned his room so beautiful. We thought somebody else did it. My husband thought I did it. I thought my husband did it. But he did it himself. He cleaned his room up so beautiful. He would, in talking to his teachers, I would see, I would hear different things. She even took a picture of him reading his Bible. Things like that. He was getting his spiritual self together. Before all of this took place, he was getting himself together. Because after all, he was a child. So he was thinking in his mind that, okay, let me do these things. Let me clean this up. Let me do things different. And he did. He did all of that. When I said his behavior changed, even at school, he had his grades increased. He did everything possible that it was to make things right. So, just to know all of that and to see my son when he passed away, it's like every bit of things that was taken from him, his little boy innocence came back. He was that cute little innocent little boy laying in that casket that was finally getting the rest that he very well needed, because he was up a lot, fighting with things that, fighting that hidden battle that nobody else sees.
Yeah. And as in other cases with suicide, typically the person bounces back, or they become very positive, or I've heard stories where parents would say, the child would call and say, "Hey, Mom, I'm doing just fine. Everything's great." And then that night they got such a shocking phone call. So I guess in that moment, it's very difficult, because when you're thinking something is okay and it's not. So that's what makes it even more difficult, because it's like, how do you discern or detect that when you think everything's okay?
Well, with me, that night, we had the perfect night.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You wouldn't have never thought that would have happened. I would have never thought that in a million years that I would have been burying my son in a couple of days or within a week. I wouldn't have never thought that. But just thinking back again, with all the wars and the horror stories that he had in his invisible trash bag. I talk about the invisible trash bag that kids carry from place to place when they're in foster care. They go from home to home, feeling rejected, feeling, feeling not wanted or whatever. They're feeling some type of way. So they carry that trash bag, and sometimes that trash bag gets so full till they can't unpack it or they can't carry it anymore. And that was in his case. He just couldn't carry it no more. No matter how much unpacking I helped him with, he just couldn't unpack enough.
Wow.
So, there was always unpacking. So, and that's the biggest thing, especially dealing with not just foster care, it's just dealing with children, period.
Period, correct.
Because they have hidden stuff that they don't seem to want to talk about, or they think that their parents going to look at them a certain way.
Right.
Because if they disclose this or they say that, they think their parents is going to say, oh, they just doing this for attention. They're not going to do that, so they don't say anything, or they don't disclose what's going on. But with my son, it was very much out there. If I take time to take and look back, it was the telltale signs was very much there. If I had knew to listen in that way.
We certainly thank you for sharing your story with us, and we are praying that it blesses someone and encourages others who may have went through similar situations, or helping parents to avoid having to go through the same heartache that you have experienced. We do appreciate you to having the strength and the courage to come on and talk with us tonight. So in closing, what would you want to leave with parents in regards to healthy parenting to avoid any type of situation that could possibly lead to thoughts of suicide or even having to travel down that path?
Pay attention to the small talk.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to the small talk. Pay attention to the actions. Don't take what children say lightly.
That's correct.
Majority of times we're misled by thinking that, oh, this child is a jokester, or oh, they the attention seeker. Take that thing serious. Take it very serious. I'm telling you by example, take it very serious.
Mm-hmm.
And just, get to know your children. Sit down, talk to them. Let them know it's okay. It's okay to have battles. It's okay. It's okay to have battles, but let us battle this thing together.
That's it.
And that's the key right there. And let them know that, okay, you're not alone. Even the parents that's already went through this, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
I'm here. Because suicide will have you wanting to commit suicide after all of it. After all of it, it will have you in that mind frame. So, I just thank God for the strength, the strength and the courage. I prayed before I came, and I was like, okay, God, it's me and you today. Mm-hmm. You are my strength. Mm-hmm. You've been being my strength since the day it occurred. Mm-hmm. So, I just want to just encourage parents, encourage children, even if children are looking at this, I just want to encourage them, talk to someone. Parents, it's okay to allow your children to go to therapists. It's okay to allow them to go to get help. It's not a taboo. Do that part. Right. Do that part. Have that awareness that, okay, it's real. Don't ever think it cannot happen to you, because that was my mind frame. This will never happen to me. We see this on movies, but when it happened, reality set in. So, but I just want to encourage people to be more aware. Just be more discernful and listen. Just listen. See, listen, hear, be more attentive. Just be more aware.
Well, thank you for sharing with us. So I think it's important that we also talk about some facts concerning suicide. Every year, suicide claims the life of over 48,000 Americans. Someone dies every 12 minutes in the United States as a result of suicide. 1.4 million Americans have actually attempted suicide, while 12 million have had suicidal thoughts. 3.5 million have made suicidal plans but never attempted. Suicide is a very serious matter that must be talked about. So let's dispel some myths surrounding suicide. Number one, that when young people talk about suicide, that they are unlikely to attempt suicide. So what are some ways that we can help someone that's in this situation that may be thinking about or contemplating? It's important to be a friend or a loved one, to be there for that person, to be a listening ear, to really, really engage with that person, to understand what their feelings are, their thoughts are. What's very important is when somebody appears to be suicidal or have mention of that, ask them if they have a plan. That's very important. If they have a plan and what that plan is. Regardless of what the plan is, do not trivialize it. If it's something very minor or if it's something major, you still want to take that very, very seriously. And then you want to create a safety plan with that person, something where it allows check-ins, accountability checkpoints, where someone's always around them, they're engaged with other people to help them lift their spirits and come out of maybe the unsafe zone that they might be in. Myth number two, that suicide deaths or attempts often come without warning. In most cases, there are warnings that we miss or we don't pay attention to. Some examples could be expressions of longing for death, losing interest in things of the future, becoming depressed. There can be a change in the sleep pattern. There can be a change in the behavior. It's key that when you know people, you know their patterns of behavior. So if something significantly changes, that can also be a red flag for you. And also, there could be a situation where someone is now all of a sudden they're so happy and they're so into being happy when all before they were kind of depressed and just having symptoms of just being worthless or just not wanting to be here anymore, but all of a sudden everything's good. That may be a sign that they're planning to end the pain. Myth number three, that suicide is a plot or some type of way to gain attention. If someone comes with suicidal thoughts or stating that they have a plan, we must take that very, very seriously, as if the person has an actual intent to die. If they are seeking attention, take that moment as the moment seeking attention. Give them the attention and help them to work through that pain or that thought of suicide. So yes, in that instant, that is crying for attention. Take it seriously. So how can you help? So I want to urge you, have that conversation, whether it's with your coworkers, with your family, your friend, your church group, on your job. Help save a life. Take it seriously if you see the warning signs. Share those symptoms. Share what to look for. Share ways that you can help. You do not have to be a mental health professional to save a life. If in fact you're watching this video and you're contemplating suicide, you feel like you absolutely just cannot make it. You absolutely do not want to go on. I encourage you, call 1-800-273-TALK. Get the help you need. Someone cares for you.